Better believe it. It is a Saturday morning, 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles. Good to have you here. And looking out the weather window, it's wet streets now, and that's good stuff. So 31 will be the high, but I think it's going to go beyond that. Tomorrow, possible snow and 29, and Monday, 37 degrees. Wide open lines and an open lines hour, 303-696-1971. And welcome to the show, 303-696-1971. I had a chance to fill in for Jeff and Bill this week, and it was a really interesting Friday for talk radio. And I brought up a number of things, and I'd like to bring them up again because people were waiting to continue to speak about them. And I brought up the assassination of John Kennedy. We haven't had a chance to do that, but not so much about the the hows and whys, but or perhaps the hows and whys are maybe more important. But the weather, what it did, what the Kennedy assassination spiritually, mentally, in so many different ways did to the country and the beginnings of the lies and the lies that are told. And then I brought up and I wrote a column that's out now and about, I think it's fascinating that the day that Dick Cheney dies, the Ugandan-born socialist Muslim becomes the mayor of New York. And with that idea of a span, of a stretch. And I brought up the Nuremberg trials when people talked about following orders. You must follow orders, really. And then again, this Cheney-Bush war, the invasion of Afghanistan, and everything that comes and goes with that. What was it? Operation Enduring Freedom, and the great lies of Dick Cheney and George Bush. And how does this Afghan get here? Well, that's how he got here. He's been in the country, it looks like, for 5 years. He was vetted probably by the DOD, now the War Department. He did different jobs, and he traveled from Bellingham, Washington, across the country to kill this poor young woman. How does all of this work? 303-696-1971. Lines are loaded up. Let's go to Jack in Wyoming. You're out of the box, Jack. Good morning.
Hey, Pete, I just woke up and the radio had you on it, and I didn't hear the whole thing, but it sparked my recollection from years ago reading on the topic of the Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor. But they got the idea from the book written by Alfred Thayer Mahan about
exactly crossing.
And I I've only been awake like 12 minutes right now, so I haven't had a chance to try to recall it all. But I just thought I'd throw that in because I always enjoy your history.
It turned out, and there's a book called At Dawn We Slept, and the guy's name is Gordon Prang, who wrote the book, and it's the definitive book on Pearl Harbor. And what he discovered was the thesis, the final question, if you would, for many, many, many of the Japanese Annapolis was to the senior graduators, how would you attack Pearl? And that was their final exam. And and I'm reading this woman's book. In 1935, they're paying these people to spy on the harbor, which builds the case they were thinking about doing what they did for at least
5 years,
more than that. But yes, 5 minimum.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
And of course they did what they did. And the other part I was thinking about it, not that it makes any difference now, but the aircraft carriers were out, and there was the battleships were in. And that's why the Pennsylvania and the rest of the terribleness of the battleships caught inside the harbor. And
so the airplanes weren't handy to respond. They weren't important. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, they were important, but the intelligence of the Japanese didn't have or didn't place the carriers perhaps, but they placed the battleships. Again, I suspect back to Thayer, because Thayer's ship, Thayer was the battleship Navy.
Right.
And he was TR's guy. No, it's great.
Was he related to the Thayer Gate on the east side of West Point? Was named after?
I don't know. I don't know much about
Good question.
that.
It's
No.
not a common name.
But he.
All right, man, let me make some coffee.
Thanks, Bubba. Thanks, man. All right, we go to Stephen. Stephen in Denver. Stephen, thanks, man. You're on the show.
Hey, Peter, this is a little follow-up from yesterday, and I want to give you a premise, and I want your wise feedback to this. That this is the premise, that there's never been more of a disparity in wealth in this country between the oligarchy and the rest, and that the middle class is rapidly fading away. There's a decline of industry. There's a lack of jobs in the heartland. There is the decline of industrial unions. Public education is constantly under attack. And what are your thoughts to all that?
Well, I'm currently reading a book entitled 1929, and it's a really,
I got it.
You know the book, and it's very lengthy about why the Great American Depression happened, and it began to happen certainly years before 1929, but it was also the height of an industrialized America. You know, we were back into the Industrial Revolution. One of the saving graces of the Depression was, although we're both old guys, or at least I'm an old guy, but young men and young women who came to the city for jobs had a place to go back to, the farm. And, you know, the grandparents' farm or the parents' farm. I got nowhere to go back to. Where would you go back to?
Exactly.
And
yeah.
that was part of it as well. There's all kinds of you know, thoughts about when and where. I don't have an answer because I see around me where people are hiring, and I see around me where people are getting fired.
What I think is a distinction between, let's say, the old time rich people, let's say Vanderbilt
Mm-hmm.
or
Morgans,
Fords or
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
These guys, at least they're building something that can pass down. Just take a Ford model; it can go all the way down. The Elon Musk and these people, they're not creating the same job structure from top to bottom.
But it's not industrial. In other words, you know, when I think one of the worst things that happens to this country is when most favored nation status is given to the PRC by the Clintons. Nixon opens the door, and the multinational corporations left. And then they left everybody that I grew up with, the so-called what economists call basic industry, cement, you know, steel, iron, coal. It all went abroad. And
that's, go ahead.
I was going to say, and if you go back and start to look for these wars that the United States gets itself into, basically there seems to be raw material somewhere in the third world that plays out in it, or somebody's idea if they could make money at it. And
this, what happened there, what you're saying, it vitiated the trade unions and their power and the number. Yes. But so many people in this country, white, black, urban, rural, are just hanging on for dear life, you know, in terms of, you know, health care and all the other things. And there's not an ascension model. You know, I'm sure when you're growing up, you would have, let's say, a man, and he went to high school, didn't have much education, but he's a good guy, good worker, reliable.
Jobs.
And he could just move on up. And his family could do better. His children could do a little bit better, own property, own a good car, take a vacation. Those days are gone. You have two-income people struggle, you know, making six figures.
But remember, that's post-World War II. The real rise of the Industrial Union, and that a man could buy his own home. That was no worker bought his or her own home. Mortgages were a product really of post the Second World War. The job where, you know, you made a decent wage, you had health care, the things that the unions fought for. Now they're being supplied by the government. And it's a function of the multinational corporations taking the steel mills to Beijing. They're taking the steel mills to Islamabad. That's where they took the mills. They took all of that out of the country. They gutted the country, and then the flood came of illegal immigrants and people out of the third world who were willing to work cheaper. And they broke.
I may disagree with you on that, but what I do think is the ultra rich today are not creating anything. That Elon Musk, the whole tech stratosphere.
But Musk did. That's the thing about Musk is I would urge you to read. It's McCullough's book on Musk, and he's brilliant. I mean, he's crazy, but he's brilliant. He's brilliant, and he does build things. It's when you look at why the crash happens in 29, those guys aren't doing anything. Morgan and Mitchell and those guys, they are simply the thing that Lenin writes about. Look at them. They produce nothing, and they only work from the interest in the back of the worker. There's a lot of truth to it, and that's why the union.
You can't believe we're going in a good direction with this enormous.
We're in a flux, Stephen. We're to be announced. Sometimes, and I'm a believer in this theory, history just takes a time out. And I'm not suggesting that's taking place right now, but goes to the sidelines and just sits down, has had enough. And generally when that happens, somebody's ginning up something someplace else and they're about to smack you. But I do think that. I don't know what tomorrow brings. And I used to have those thoughts that, oh, yeah, this is what's going to happen. Do you really have any idea what's going to happen? Because I don't.
And the countries, it's been there from Vietnam and whatever, but I think the country's never been at such a tipping point in terms of money going to foreign causes because people are struggling for their medicine, they're struggling for different things, and whether it's Ukraine, Israel, or whatever, I think that the average Joe Smith has less of a tolerance for that than ever before. What are your thoughts?
The men who went and won the Second World War and came back and built the Union, those are the guys. They're the greatest. They're the greatest generation.
And I look back growing up when I would see those guys, they would have energy. They'd have a light in their eye. They just had something special when you interacted with them.
Yeah.
And they were go-getters and good people and all these things.
And they had their miracle stolen from them.
Yeah,
they really did. Thank you, man. Good call.
Take care of yourself.
You too. A line's open. And you ever feel conflicted when somebody on the street asks you for money? Happens every time. I know you want to help, and there is a better way, and it's making a donation to Step Denver. So you can do it right now for Colorado Gives Day. coloradogives.org/ here it is, Step Denver. I go back with Bob Cote and Step 13. Now it's, of course, Step Denver. And every day, men walk through the doors of Step on Lammer Street, right in front of Coors Field, and make a commitment to sobriety and work and accountability and recover from their addictions and rebuild their lives. Stories are unbelievable. I've seen it firsthand now for 42 years of my life. And Step Denver, a proven solution. I can tell you the men they serve are more than worth our support. Colorado Gives Day, December the 9th. Step Denver is counting on people like you, me, to invest in men who are investing in themselves, making contributions. They are members of our community. These are our friends. STEP makes a real change, makes it happen. Every dollar you donate will be turned over 7 times, $7 of impact. And since they don't take government funding, your support means that much more. Don't wait for December the 9th. Make your tax deduction now, your donation now, coloradogives.org/StepDenver. Let's go here with a line open. Briscoe, my man, thanks. You're on the show. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Pete. We'll try to talk a little bit about the one percenters. That's kind of my opinion. Not that I hang out with the motorcycle crew a bunch. And I'm like 60 pages into a 900-page Goebbels book. We'll see if we can touch on that. You know this. The initial World War II guys that came back were some of them became the one percenters. And they wanted to continue. They damn near died probably many times. But the craziness, I think, came back with them, and they liked it. And the motorcycle was a way to continue to get kind of that high of having fun and, being with their boys and keep doing that. Go ahead.
Where do you think the Earps came from? Where do you think, Doc Holliday came from? Where do you think those gunfighters? What do you think they were products of? What the sheep herders? The cowboys. Who do you think those guys were? Because they're the same guys. American Civil War. Yeah.
I would bet a similar situation.
Absolutely.
They came from chaos, and
absolutely.
Probably that far back then, a lot of them, and this will be repeated here in a second, broken homes.
Well, the homes that were destroyed. I mean, the southern guys, all their homes, regardless if they were big plantations or just a farm, they were gone.
Yeah.
And they left.
They wanted to continue. Yeah. And, people, they react differently to having everything taken from them. And some still have the grit to fight and want to keep going.
You can't.
And, you can't. Whatever that 1%, they end up being the Wyatt Earps.
No, Joseph Campbell, you can't do this to people and think they're going to be okay. They're not.
That's right. Yeah. Man, and we could go off on that topic with modern stuff. But a point I did wanted to make, because this I do have a little bit of knowledge about as far as the biker thing. I'm 55, so I graduated high school in '89. There was skinheads back then, and I grew up. I cared way more about and was really involved with skateboarding. A little side note to skateboarding is punk rock. So you've got the skinheads. I know this for a fact. A lot of the kids that were skinheads, where they ended up, if they were dumb enough to keep that attitude still into their 20s, they ended up in the 1%er biker gangs.
Yeah.
And I guess a crazy note about that I learned, because unfortunately I do know some of these skinheads types, is a lot of skinheads, they were from they were either adopted kids or from really broken homes. And I'd never made the connection. A lot of them were adopted. But some of the players here in Denver, that's exactly the stories I've heard from, of people whom I trust that know, because they ran with these effing guys.
No, I've often said that there were these great studies that were done in Ireland after the Free State, but during the time of the British occupation. And I can put you on hold. We can continue. Well, why don't we do that?
Yeah.
I'll just throw them on hold, and we'll get a chance to go on the other side. All right. Let's do it one more time. Good morning, everyone. It is, I think it's going to be greater than 31 right now, but everything melted. But, boy, what a rough ride it was, and now things are good. Coming up on the radio show, Jim Paffs is with us. I never spoken to him before, and everybody said, get him on the show. So I will do that, conservative commentator. It's beautiful outside right now. We'll come back. Everybody's calls. Lines are full. 710 KNUS.
Your 710 5-day forecast is Saturday. Blustery winds 20 to 30 in the morning, settling down this afternoon, turning partly cloudy with highs in the lower to mid-30s. Lows tonight, low and mid-teens, clear early. Increasing clouds again into Sunday morning. Mostly cloudy Sunday afternoon and evening, light snow showers. Highs low 30s and lows in the mid-teens. Temperatures Monday and Tuesday will get back to the lower and mid-40s. I'm meteorologist Don Watzel in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
It's Saturday morning, everyone, the 29th morning of November. Holiday season underway. Roads are good. 710 KNUS Denver's talk station. Thank you all for being here. Tell you about David Ellis now. The holidays are here. Holiday gift giving. You've heard me talking about taking valuables to David Ellis Jewelers to get a fortune in cash and secure an appraisal from David for all the valuables you have tucked away in your home. He is there as we speak. It's still true. I'll share the reasons to see David just in case you don't have a Rolex watch, rare coins, or a silver tea set. Gift giving. Find the right item, the right price, and for people that you love. See today, David Ellis for all the most meaningful gift-giving occasions. David Ellis Jewelers, really just the right items, just the right prices for the special people that mean the most to you. An antique watch, an emerald pendant, a gold necklace, a diamond ring. This trusted jeweler, David, has been buying precious metals and antiques in Colorado for decades. Dazzling cases filled with hundreds of new and used pieces your loved ones will treasure. Visit David Ellis Jewelers. See for yourself. Look for the black awning on the corner of 3rd and Clayton and Cherry Creek. He's there as we speak. Explore davidellisjewelry.com. Call my friend David, 303-322-8779. You're looking, he's got 303-322-8779. And tell David Ellis, Peter Boyles sent you. We have one line's open, 303-696-1971. We have Briscoe, the caller. We put him on hold. He's back up with us. We're talking about young men principally, and there were studies done in Northern Ireland that were done in the 60s and 70s that I think are incredibly significant. And they'd go into Bogside and Londonderry, and they'd find these Catholic raw-boned kids out of work, shipyard workers, not employed on what the British called the dole. And their lives were as imagined, but at night they were colonels in the IRA, and they had, and I think the same thing is true in a lot of street gangs, city gangs, that you've been blunted out of this, but you're a the warlord in the Crips or or the Bloods or one of the sets, and I think it holds up now. Certainly, it was true when the Troubles, the British called them, when the Troubles were, or the Irish called them the Troubles. When the Troubles ended, and the British Army goes home, and because of the way that the Irish structured Ireland, that industry, principally technology, came to Ireland. Those guys got jobs, and they married the Colleen, and they went back to church, and they did all of those things, and they became citizens, if you would, again, Briscoe. But in that wild time, that's where they were. And after the American Civil War, when you read the stories about the people that would come to Cheyenne for Frontier Days, there were sheep herders that would come out of those mountains that they hadn't seen another human being in a year. Because they couldn't tolerate people. They were so They were so. I mean, they'd been through Gettysburg or Fredericksburg or something, regardless of the side, and they just had to get away. And I think there's more to that than we'll ever know.
Yeah, guys, men who want to be left alone.
Left alone.
Adolescent boys.
Yeah.
Once the testosterone starts hitting in.
Oof.
There's times you don't want to talk, and there's times you don't want to be around people. And if things are going good, a lot of them can be social. But if things ain't going good, and, your comparison with the gangs and the Irish, like I was thinking, it's like being a passenger in a car versus the guy behind the wheel and control the steering wheel, the gas pedal, the brake pedal, and whatever else. That's night and day difference.
But if you're in the car, you're going to jail. If you're driving or not, you're going. And that's what I think there's more to that than we know. And Joseph Campbell, who I'm this huge Joseph Campbell fan, and Joseph Campbell wrote about the tribes of Europe and how they would stitch the wild animal clothes on themselves, on their arms and on their backs and on their legs to become the animal before they went off to whatever it was they were going to do.
Yeah.
And,
The quote adventure.
and Joseph Campbell called it the way of all animal powers, and he's absolutely right. But then the payoff came. When you came back, you couldn't come back. You had to go live separate. They didn't want you back because they knew what was wrong with you, and they did not want you. And if you read the stories of those people, remember the Romans wouldn't let the Rubicon. They wouldn't come. They could not come back over the Rubicon. And if they did, they were to be. You had to be leery of them. And
what group?
The Rubicon River, the Roman legions. And
okay, the Romans.
And
okay.
the best.
Because I've heard that Rubicon phrase in a few different places. I didn't know
it's a river. It's a river, and you couldn't cross the river. And they were. I mean, the best example of that is that, and I like the movie a lot. It's that movie Gladiator, and they're fighting the Germanic tribes, and they're there. I mean, it's Caesar in Gaul. They go to France. They fight. And they're only doing it to hold empire. The whole nonsense, the story of the Messiah in the Middle East, it's a story of empire, of the Romans, and they had the Israelis as their. I use the word toady. Maybe that's not the right one, but the Israelis would do their bidding, and one of the reasons why they take Jesus and crucify him is because he represents the rebel threat. It's all
right. You're going to take away the order that we have established that we like.
Well, and that's why when you read about the Catholic Church in Ireland during the time of the British occupation, the Catholic Church cooperated. They went along with the British, and they did the bidding of the British, and that's why. Young Ireland and all those movements, the people involved in the Easter Rebellion, they had nothing to do with the Catholic Church. And the Catholic Church would not consecrate the ground for them to be buried in. And so these mothers would try and, don't join Young Ireland, because when you die, I can't bury you in consecrated ground. It's a deal the Catholic Church made. They made it with the British.
It's choosing sides, and the big powerful are going to reach out hand to hand
every time
with the next big power. They're not going to reach clear down to the little not powerful, because that's a losing bet.
But when the time comes, and that's why that song is so important, when the man comes around, because that's what they're talking about. Is like
that whole album is so great.
Yeah,
Johnny Cash's last album.
Yeah, it's his last time, and you just think it. June's gone, I think, and he's John. But he's telling you something, and history's telling you the same thing. It really is case history. It's telling you the same thing. It's just who wants to really listen to it. You're the man,
right? And you got to pay attention, right?
Oh, and we don't, as the man once said.
Yeah, I like the phrase, they say history repeats itself, and it's true. But I like the other phrase, history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes.
It rhymes.
And it's a little more poetic or creative way to look at it. But the stuff, it repeats, it repeats, it repeats. And that's good, that's bad, and that's ugly.
But watch, again, if the players change, the geography changes. But there really aren't that many themes, and people don't want to believe that either. But if you take the Old Testament or Quran or Torah, you take the tragedies and comedies of the Greeks, and the tragedies and the comedies of Shakespeare, and you go through just a couple of different themes. You got it. There's nothing new.
They're so similar.
Very much.
Goebbels' book that I'm reading, I'm laughing because when he was a young guy, he like you guys just talked about, he was dating a Jewish gal for a while.
Yeah, sure.
Even,
he was
when he was a young guy, he was a Catholic.
Yeah, sure. He was a Catholic, and he danced with communism. And to tell you how bad my life is, I read his PhD because he was Dr. Joseph Goebbels. I read his thesis.
But you got to read that stuff to explain. That stuff. Sure. That Jordan Peterson makes a funny point. years ago, all the scholarly people that write the papers, the 80-20 rule applies to that too. 80% of all the scholarly papers are written by only 20% of the people. And I bet what you just said about you reading it, probably only 20% of the people out there read, these scholarly papers. But it's probably a lot less than 20%.
There has to be, and remember, and I hear it all the time on talk radio. Well, they're socialists. They're not. No, they're not. The Nazis weren't socialists. They were National Socialists.
They used the moniker National Socialist.
No, but
that does not mean
they used the term when the Führer his party number. Now, this is where you really got to get a life. His party number is 55. Adolf Hitler's party number is 55. He infiltrates the party, and if they're socialists, the man on the moon.
A bridge to sell you.
They're not socialists. I mean, socialists would never allow the Krupps and the Farbens and all of those big corporates to exist and to do well.
The monopoly.
Yeah, sure. They're who they were.
Monopoly and the control. Yeah, and it's in and out of fascism. Once in a while you got to put the hammer down hard.
Yeah. You take care of yourself, man. Have a good weekend. Thank you. 303-696-1971. It is the first time we got wide open lines, and I brought up a whole bunch of different things, and we'll see, but I brought up the assassination of John Kennedy. We always do shows on it and didn't do one this year. But there's a spiritual disconnect that happens, and John Kennedy, of course, murdered Dealey Plaza, Dallas, Texas. We've talked about it. You've talked about it. Books, movies have been written about it. But that's the first time as a young guy, as a kid, that I realized they were lying. And we were talking about this the other day. I don't know the truth, but I know the lie. When you become a reader and you read just the life of Jack Ruby, or you read the life of Lee Harvey Oswald, or any number of people, and the Warren Commission concludes that this Oswald character assassinates Kennedy, and you're supposed to go, okay, fine. No, it's not true. I don't know the truth. Anybody claims they do, be leery. But I know the lie. And all these other parts of that commission report of the life of Oswald or others, they're provable to be lies. And it just goes on and on and on and on. And we're talking about this tragedy of this poor young National Guards woman who is killed by this Afghan. If you take Bush and Cheney out of the equation, the Afghan's not here. If you take Bush and Cheney's lies, George Bush and Dick Cheney, the key liars after the 9/11 attacks and the 2001 invasion of Afghanistan and the 20-year war that took place now in Afghanistan, Cheney was the major advocate for the war in Afghanistan. Had he and George Bush not told those lies, and this is the unintended consequences, right? And George Bush, Dick Cheney, please. We got time to go back to the calls? We good? Okay, good. All right, Grant, you're on the radio show. Happy Saturday, man. Thank you.
You too as well, man. Hope you had a good happy Thanksgiving.
I did.
Good news. Hey, just getting, I think you're leading into the kind of the Islamic scenario that we're looking at. And, it's the more you dig into the settlement that has been going on of the Islamic communities in this country, I think the more your eyes get wider and wider. These people come from nothing. They can live on nothing. They start small and grow from the inside out. And I was curious what you thought, if there is going to be a time in this country in the near future of kind of a return to the old war.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, and it comes up all the time in my reading. I don't have an answer, and I'm not trying to dodge you, because this country has a way of taking other cultures and emulsifying them. And yet, what's around the corner? But this guy was in this country legally, and he traveled from Birmingham, Washington, and he randomly kills this kid. And I can't get my arms around it. What was that about? He worked for the United States.
Well, I think it's every other scenario that you can point to. Why and where and who and the motives.
Do you want to hang on? I want to pursue your call. Your call's good. Put them on hold, please, if you would. All right, 710 KNUS. Good morning. It's November the 29th, 2025. We have a line open, 303-696-1971. You stay right here. We ready? We're ready? Pull the pin. December the 29th, Mongo Jerry, in the summertime. I don't even know the songs they're going to play. And it said, I remember when, Mongo Jerry in the summertime. Morning, everybody. It's really getting nice outside, and it's not as predicted. They say, well, 31, I think we're way past 31, but we'll see. 29 tomorrow and 37 on Monday. Real quick, Dan Kaplis, then back to the phones. Dan's my guy. We had lunch together a week ago, Friday, and talked, and Danny suggested you choose an attorney that shares your values, and because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says so much about you to everybody involved. And of course, and I went through some things with our family, and Dan was there and did just an incredible job. Dan also the former seminarian. We talk about a golf scholarship, everything that he's done and done well. And he's just a good guy. Dan Kaplis Law, the official law firm, the partner now of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avs. Dan Kaplis Law, a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts religious injury cases on percentage fee basis. He can represent good people from all walks of life without regard or ability to pay. He's there for you. Straight up guy. He will return your call and they'll answer your questions. Call Danny, 303-770-5551. I urge you, dankapleslaw.com. You got questions, that man's got answers. 303-770-5551 or capleslaw.com. We got a great call. And Grant, you waited. Really appreciated it. Yours. Go ahead.
Of course, man. No, I just what the end of this pipeline looks like when you've got a religion that is they don't assimilate, they don't accommodate, they demand, they start small and work larger. Look at Dearborn, Michigan scenario.
Yeah.
Texas has it's probably something 3 times the size of that settlement going on. It's just looking down the pipe. At some point, does it not matter about jobs or who's making what? It's just a matter of that there's a clash of societal impacts that can't be avoided.
And it's happened again and again and again. And you're a bright man. I mean, you know this. It's the clash of civilizations. And you and I will be long gone into the night, and the civilizations will clasp. No, your questions are great. They're legit. What is to come is what you're saying, and I don't know. I legitimately don't know. But you can see some real bad times if it goes the way you're talking. Correct?
Yeah, I think. No. What did Trump say to Mondani before that meeting?
Don't know.
How these little pieces get moved around?
Talking about what we didn't hear or what was said publicly?
Yeah, all of the above. There's all the things that you can kind of read between the lines on. But I apparently in Trump's office a good 45 minutes before they knew that he was even there. They thought he was late, but he wasn't.
You pose a great question. What do you think they said to each other? Because remember, Trump called him a communist. He called Trump a fascist. And then what?
Yeah, fascinating how these players can stand in the same conversation with each other, and whether it's a show or it's how does one deal with the other one, keep your enemies closer type scenario.
Oh, yeah.
But nonetheless, you've got the largest modern empire now in the United States that has a very, very clear directive of who they voted for.
Remember this, and I wrote a column that came down 2 weeks ago. On the day that Dick Cheney died, a Muslim socialist Ugandan born in another country becomes the mayor of the world seat of capitalism, Wall Street. Is that significant to you, Grant?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think the whole thing's significant. I'm shocked that whatever far right, whoever you'd want to talk with, has not lent more gravity to this, because that was a dinner bell that got rang, in my opinion.
What? I mean, what I thought was interesting was, I'm this believer in agendas and themes, and there's only X amount of them, and they're They're certain. And Dick Cheney dies on the day that this man wins. It holds significance. It really does.
That's the pendulum come back in a huge way.
Yeah. And so then Donald Trump invites him to come into the office, throwing no rocks either way. Wonder what they talked about.
And I wonder what happens at some point where people just say, it doesn't matter what it is, I'm going to create my own settlement.
Well, there you go.
And,
sure.
And, these things, we start back in the tribal stuff, and then, when does that time come?
No, listen, the wheels can come off. And that's the reason you read history, to see make breaks and to see, where things change and what happens. And there are these sort of lower level perpetrators, and then there's the big boys. And I think you and I have seen a couple of the big boys in our lives.
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you. This is going to get hot and fast real quick.
Yeah. Always beware of guys like you, because you ask the right questions. You take care. Thanks, Bubba.
Don't watch too much, too. But
Indeed. Thank you for your time. All right, we go to Sandy in Loveland. We got the turn coming. Hey, Sandy, thanks, and good morning.
Good morning, Peter. Just a quick question. I'm wondering your perspective on our elections overall, from the presidency to local. If instead of the election, is it the selection?
Meaning, is it rigged?
Meaning, exactly.
No.
Or they have one person that they have in mind, like a Dick Cheney and Bush. I mean, I wonder how these guys get in there.
But that's the point of it, is the establishment. That's why, Donald Trump's an erupter. Do with that whatever you want to, up, down, left, right, sideways. Donald Trump erupted and interrupted that play. And
yeah.
I'm one of those that believes that the smart money was on Hillary Clinton. She was going to win. And, of course, she got beat.
Oh.
She got beat.
Great point.
Yeah. And I mean, there's been so many great books written about Hillary Clinton and her campaign, and yet here we are. I don't know. I'm reading excerpts, and that's as far as I can go with Kamala Harris's book, and this really the interesting moment is, and we've talked about it before. She's making pancakes with her grandkids, and they're making pancakes and strawberries. It's a Saturday, and the phone rings, and she answers it, and it's Joe Biden, and he said, "I'm not running," and he hangs up. I think,
oh, man.
No, really, for real, it's in her book. I mean, and amazing is true. There's no. Did you see any primaries? Did you see anything? No, of course not.
Oh, zip. Yeah. So you had this question years ago. You asked the audience, when did you stop trusting your government? And I remember calling you, and I said, when they can murder a sitting president in Main Street America. And that's been my little whisper in my ear to, how does this all work or not work?
Well, there's been some really smart calls on this radio station in the last couple of days. I've been lucky enough to host shows. I mean, there's a lot of stooges, but there's a lot of really smart people too. And they, like yourself, you're the first impossible thing to do is ask the right question. And I brought it up the other day, and I got a bunch of interesting mail. But are you sick and tired of being lied to? I am.
Yes.
They've been lying to me, man, since I was a little kid. And there's no intention to quit lying to me. They're not. They have no intention of quitting lying to you.
No. And they just keep getting more interesting. That's how I look at it. It's almost like watching crazy theater.
Yes. And I'm sitting there at Thanksgiving, and I'm watching this young kid that I love so much, my grandson, and I just came off the gig, and I'm thinking, man, they're lying to me. I know they're lying to him.
Oh, man.
I love you. Thank you, man, very much. We come back on the other side, and we'll see where this goes. 710 KNUS.